The top 3 teams in the NBA right now all reside in the Western Conference, so it's really not a stretch to say the eventual champions will come out of the West. But what if I told you the team to beat wasn't one of those 3 at the top, but rather the squad sitting in 6th right now? A team closer to the play-in tournament than they are to the top 4. I'm talking about the Denver Nuggets, and you should be too. This take might seem especially spicy when you consider that these 6th place Nuggets are 4-10 against the West's top 5 teams this season. But there are some obvious caveats here. First and foremost, the injury-battered Nuggets team that Nikola Jokic has dragged to a top 6 seed isn't the same Denver team we should expect come the playoffs. Jamal Murray, who's been out since tearing his ACL last April, and Michael Porter Jr., who hasn't played since undergoing another back surgery in November, are both expected back in time for the postseason. Expecting either player to jump back into the mix like they missed no time at all is unrealistic. But if they have even a bit of time to get their legs back under them down the stretch of the regular season, their potential impact could be massive in the playoffs. Murray may not have an all-star selection to his name yet, but there are few guards in the association right now that have come up bigger than he has under the postseason spotlight.
Under a minute to go, Denver using some clock here. Jokic finding Murray. Murray, does he got another one in him? Oh, you bet he does! And that might be the dagger. Wow.
In 33 career playoff games, the 25-year-old Canadian has averaged 24.3 points and 5.8 assists on 47, 41, 90 shooting, while logging nearly 40 minutes per game. Even if he's not quite 100% upon returning, adding Murray's scoring and playmaking to an offense that revolves around Jokic should scare the hell out of opponents. Adding Murray and a scorer as talented as Porter to a Jokic-led offense is borderline unfair. His troublesome back zapped him of his powers in limited action earlier this season, but let's not forget that just last year, between the regular season and playoffs, MPJ averaged 18.8 points while shooting 62% from two-point range and nearly 44% from deep.
My motto is simple: efficiency, efficiency, efficiency.
Sure, opponents will once again target Porter's defense in the playoffs, but if he's anywhere near as good as he was last year, his scoring can more than make up for it. Just as Murray's offensive abilities unlock more for Jokic and the Nuggets, so too does Porter's ability to shoot and create for himself at his size. Meanwhile, Aaron Gordon has quietly been playing the best all-around basketball of his career this season. The high-flying forward has always been a versatile defender who puts up decent numbers. But in the past, he's often looked overextended when thrust into a primary or even secondary offensive role that he's just not made for. Playing off of Jokic has been a godsend for AG though. He rarely forces anything on the offensive end anymore, as the majority of his production comes off cuts, smart off-ball movement in general, and in transition. And he's still a solid defender who can both guard the opposing team's biggest and best wing threats and serve as a non-traditional rim protector when he's the helper. Gordon has stepped up as Denver's second best player this season when the Nuggets desperately needed him to. But the returns of Murray and Porter will help reset Coach Mike Malone's rotation and each player's role within it. Gordon can go back to being the great connector he is on both ends, and the role he's played on the offensive end this season shouldn't really be too disrupted by that. The Nuggets created something pretty close to a perfect team dynamic and roster makeup when they acquired Gordon at last year's trade deadline. And Denver very much looked the part of legitimate title contender until Murray's knee injury derailed those hopes. Of all the NBA's post-deadline big-minute lineups last season, only the Clippers' best lineup, featuring both Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, fared better than the Nuggets starters, a lineup consisting of Jokic, Murray, Porter, Gordon, and Will Barton. And the part we haven't mentioned yet is that Jokic is somehow even better now than he was then. The guy is averaging roughly 25 points, 14 rebounds, 8 assists, and a steal on 65% true shooting. Though Jokic-less minutes have understandably killed the shorthanded Nuggets this season, with Denver performing like the league's 4th worst team when the Joker rests, the Nuggets have performed like the best team in the league when Jokic is on the court. With all due respect to Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, Ja Morant, and LeBron James, whose Lakers might need to win 2 road play-in games just to sniff the actual playoffs, The evidence continues to mount that the best player in the conference is the reigning league MVP, Jokic. And he's also consistently elevated his game when the playoffs roll around. Come April, May, and possibly June, the Nuggets will have the best player on the court more often than not. And they're about to add a ton of talent to a team that's already flirting with top 10 marks on both ends of the court. You could make the argument that the returns of Murray and especially Porter might tank an improved defense, but no West contender is perfect. The league best Suns have been dominant, but Chris Paul needs to stay healthy for an entire playoff run. And you only need one hand to count how many teams in NBA history have won a title when its two best players are guards. At full strength, the Warriors are obviously a force to be reckoned with, but Draymond Green is still working his way back from a back injury serious enough to sideline him for more than 2 months. Ja Morant's upstart Grizzlies are the league's most fun team to watch right now, but does anyone really think they're ready to win 3 playoff series in a row? The Jazz have looked great with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert back in the lineup, but losing Joe Ingles hurts, and Utah still has some major playoff questions to answer, especially when it comes to how Gobert is utilized. Not to mention, Jokic, Murray, and Porter already slayed that dragon in the 2020 playoffs.
2 seconds to go for the win, and it rims out! Denver hangs on!
As for Dallas, it's clear that Doncic needs more help before the Mavs can be crowned anything more than regular season darlings. It seems unlikely the Clippers will get back to full strength this year, but even the prospect of a completely healthy Clips lineup shouldn't scare Denver. As the last time we saw Jokic and Murray together on a playoff court, they were rallying the Nuggets back from a 3-1 deficit past Kawhi and PG's Clippers en route to the 2020 West Finals.
What happened in the bubble?
The bubble, which part?
Look, I get that it's been easy to lose sight of the Nuggets this season, as better stories have emerged while Jokic has just tried to keep a bruised squad's head above water. But the reinforcements are coming, and that should terrify the rest of the conference. Because if and when they get Murray and Porter back, no West team will be better. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video and want to see more content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button.